Hey, this is Greg, and
This is Jeff.
we're from the Dillinger Escape Plan, and you're watching the Kerrang podcast. Ow, shit, yeah. Farewell Mona Lisa is, the title and the lyrics are pretty self-explanatory. It's like a reference to, the Mona Lisa is seen as like the pinnacle of like artistic achievement, usually. And Farewell Mona Lisa is just an observation, like a commentary of what we were saying before, that like, right now we're in some sort of cultural depression, and like a lot of the great ideas that we've had from a cultural standpoint are in the past, and I actually think that it's a shame that looking backwards right now seems to be more thrilling than looking forwards, and that song and the lyrics have a lot to do with that. And there's some lines in the songs that are references to people wanting to, even, in Dillinger, we have a lot of people sometimes say that we're straying too far from what we started out as, and there's some lines in the song that have reference, people's unwillingness to accept growth and change and things like that. Good Neighbor is kind of another song that's that references, what we were talking about before, about just because you can doesn't mean you should, and people not understanding the ramifications of their actions. There's a lot of times, people will come up to you and tell you that they love your new CD or something like that, and they love your record, and that kid probably downloaded it for free, and you wouldn't come to me and tell me that you loved, my microwave if you stole it from my apartment. You know what I mean? Like, so it was just a funny thing to me to call a song Good Neighbor, because it's like, if I was just imagining that I had a neighbor that was telling me how rad Dillinger was when he was just, stealing all my songs off the internet, but something like to that effect,
And I will also say I think Good Neighbor might be my new favorite Dillinger song.
It's a really fun song to play.
It's it's pretty much nonstop
Scathing,
blistering speed and intensity. Yeah. I think once that song really, there's people who know it from YouTube and from seeing us live, but I think once that song gets out there, I think that's going to be
a motherfucker.
It's going to be one of the new favorites, I think.
Yeah. Gold Teeth on a Bum is about people having their priorities in the wrong places, and I think that title people think is a joke title, but it's actually a very literal title for a lot of the meanings. It's like, I live in LA now, and I've never seen such superficial people in my life that have their priorities all wrong. Like people who, can't feed their kids, driving around in Lexuses, or bums asking for change with gold teeth. And that literally happened. I was in Hollywood, and some bum came up to me with just a mouthful of like legitimate gold teeth, asking me for money. And I'm just like, you could, sell your teeth, and figured, it was just weird to me. I was like, who is guy's asking me for money? He's got thousands of dollars worth of teeth in his mouth. You know what I mean? So it was just insane to me.
And bums gotta look good too.
It's just ridiculous, man. It's another, another thing we were saying, man. Like, it's all this stuff is creating this very style over substance atmosphere in everything, and LA had a lot to do with a lot of my observations on those topics, because that place is just a fucking cesspool of superficiality in a lot of ways, man. Crystal Morning is a reference to, this is one of the only tracks on the record that isn't that personal or doesn't have anything to do with what we were talking about before. Crystal Morning, Crystal Night was an incident that happened before the Holocaust in Germany. It was like an incident that like kind of tipped off, the intense, hatred of Jews in Germany in World War II. And Crystal Morning is kind of like a flip case scenario almost to me, as if like what their attitude would have been if they didn't, if the Jewish people didn't give a fuck and would have retaliated. So it's almost like Inglourious Bastards if it was a song. But it's interesting to me because I didn't realize that movie was coming out until after the song was kind of written, and I was like, wow, there's like some sort of common thread right here. Endless Endings is about something that takes a really long time to fall apart, and I think we all find ourselves in those situations, whether it's a relationship or a situation in your life. People are very reluctant to let something go, and I think there's human nature. It's weird. Everyone wants to hold on to everything forever, and I think there's a beauty in something that's short-lived. It's no more, we don't know enough about time to know that something short could last forever it could stretch on forever in some way. You know, we're all gonna die. There's no difference in the grand scheme of things whether you hold on to something for 50 years or for 5 months. You know, then what matters is how enjoyable it was for that time. And I think people get in this weird state where they would rather have, you know, a long time where things are miserable and they're just trying to hang on to it than just letting it go when it's ready to be let go. And I think, you know, we've done it in relationships and things like that. So I don't know, you know, exactly. I can't think of all the lines offhand, but I know that's what it's about.
Cool.
The Widower is, you know, a kind of a song about somebody who, you know, makes a lot of mistakes and ruins something that was important to him, and is kind of realizing after it's too late that it's his fault, or his or her fault, or whoever's fault, and it's not about a particular incident, but again, I think it's a situation that a lot of us have found ourselves in. You know, Room Full of Eyes is kind of what we were talking about before, in a way that there's, you know, zero emphasis on privacy or maintaining you know, any kind of hold on an idea long enough for it to become something. You know, everyone's obsessed with transparency instead of being obsessed with nurturing something, you know, and protecting it. And I think, you know, all these tools that we have, whether it be YouTube or Twitter or all these things, it's creating an almost where everyone is, it's like the Truman Show for everybody. You know, everyone's their own little reality star, and they're more than happy to be that. And that's really bizarre to me, because I am vehemently repulsed by the idea of like everything that I do being broadcast. You know, even like things like Facebook and things like that weird me out. You know, I turn my wall off just so that people can't comment, because I'm so freaked out by the idea that people can, like, you know, expect you to write every single thing about your day. It's weird. I don't know, man. The whole thing is you know, I'm very a paranoid person, so you know, that's how I feel all the fucking time. I'm in a room full of eyes, you know. Yeah. It's also a homage to Soundgarden, A Room 1,000 Years Wide, between you and I.
Between you and I and everybody watching this podcast.
Chinese Whispers is kind of a song about someone who is so stuck up their own ass that they don't realize that they're fucking, you know, their surroundings up. You know, like again, there's plenty of people that everyone knows that are, you know, too oblivious to realize that, you know, their sense of self-grandiosity has long since become passé, and they're the last people to know, you know, type of thing.
Delusions of grandeur.
Chinese Whispers.
Star Wars.
Chinese Whispers is the name for that game Telephone that you guys have, right? Yeah. Where you talk to someone and then blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of what begins to happen to those people. It's like, people are like, look, that guy is fucking crazy. You know, and then it becomes like, you know, he's the guy, he walks around thinking he's the shit, but every single other person thinks that guy's jive. So
would you say LA has shaped that song?
LA has shaped a lot of my views on humanity lately, yeah, so it's funny. I didn't think about that ahead of time, but probably, you know, there's a lot of that going on there.
I mean, have you seen a lot of casualties from sort of the 80s rock scene?
Oh my, it's insane. It's insane. Man, it's ridiculous, dude. It's ridiculous. It's actually really sad, you know. It's kind of a bummer that people get trapped in, like, we just will not let something go, you know. And like I was saying before, man, there's something to be said for enjoying something and letting it go. It doesn't need to be kept forever, you know. I wouldn't have didn't is just kind of a shitty message, I guess, in a way. It's a song about how people tend to justify anything negative they do, especially when it comes to dealing with other people, by instantly being like, well, I you know, wouldn't have done that if they hadn't have done this, you know. It's like, doesn't make your act any less reprehensible, you know what I mean, just because someone else did something shitty to you. And I think that I've been victim of doing that to people, having it done to me, doing it to others, watching other people do it, and it's just a disgusting cycle, because it just ends up, you know, becoming no one wins once that starts, you know.
Yeah.
You know, for that, I kind of took some of the themes that Greg was talking about. You know, he was pretty secretive about his lyrics, but, you know, just listening to some of the demos, just kind of getting the vibe that he had coming across in the songs, just dealing with different types of relationships ending. And just, so the song is kind of maybe the aftermath of those failed relationships, or, you know, relationships that ended because they should have, you know. But it's bittersweet a lot of times, you know. Even though it's maybe good for people to part ways, with personal relationships, or with us leaving Relapse and going to the new record label, it was a bit scary for us at first, because there was a lot of ends that were left open. But in the end, we knew that it was going to be good for us. So I mean, I think that song kind of reflects that kind of vibe.
It's a double-edged sword, like growing with somebody, because it's a thin line between like relying on someone and becoming codependent, you know, and that can become very tricky when things start to end, so.
Yeah.
It's interesting because a lot of this record is about transition, or transitioning from something, and that was happening in so many areas. We're talking about like the way things used to be, like the paradigm of like, the culture that we used to be in compared to now is a massive transition. We were transitioning out of the only record contract we've ever known into something completely unknown. We have a lot of transitions going on in our personal lives right now that are like completely new worlds for us that we're not sure how to function with, and just the whole concept of starting a new record cycle that is going to last for a year and a half and is bound to destroy certain aspects of your personal life that you can't, you never come out of a record cycle with everything intact, and you never know going into it what that's going to be, and you develop weird, psychological issues and things like that, and it's a little bit daunting, like starting a big cycle, to me at least,
I mean, I think people tend to gravitate towards areas of comfort in their life. I mean, and they should, because a lot of times those types of environments are, the ones that nurture your life the most, but they also really don't push you, as much as they should a lot of times. So it's very hard to sort of take yourself out of that comfort zone and maybe take risks.
People want to be comfortable, but comfortable is not always good for you.
Yeah, Chuck Palahniuk in this book called Invisible Monsters described it as if you're scared to do something, it's something that you probably should be doing, because it's something different and it's something new that you've never done before.
I'm going to jump out that window. I'm fucking terrified.
Well, you would probably learn that
by
you
the
should,
idea of killing myself.
You could learn that you could fly, possibly. You never know, man. You never know. If you do enough PCP, you might be able to do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking,